Norway faced tough times as the Industrial Revolution changed the UK and Europe. The country's harsh winters and tricky geography made farming, traveling, and learning difficult. Norway relied on help from other Scandinavian countries because its economy was struggling. Many families suffered from famines and decided to move to the United States for a better life. But look at Norway today. It's the second most prosperous country on Earth, excluding tiny nations. Norway's money comes mainly from its sovereign wealth fund, which is a big deal in the investment world. Norway is also considered the most democratic country globally, and its people are super happy with their quality of life. Many other countries have tried copying Norway's success, but they often end up poorer than before. So, how exactly did Norway become so wealthy? Let's find out. Leveraging geography for economic success. Norway's population may be small, with only about 5.2 million people, but it's enormous regarding land. The country covers about 385,000 square kilometers, roughly 140 times larger than Hong Kong and 464 times larger than Singapore. Despite its vast size, Norway's population density is one of the lowest in Europe, with much of its land being harsh and mountainous. Due to its rugged terrain and short growing seasons, only about 2.2% of Norway's land is suitable for agriculture. This scarcity of arable land is similar to countries like Yemen, which is mostly desert. The usable land for farming in Norway is primarily located in small valleys scattered throughout the southern part of the country, making large-scale farming difficult. Despite these challenges, Norway has a long history of prosperity, dating back centuries. Unlike some might think, oil didn't make Norway rich, it just added to its wealth. One of Norway's geographic advantages is its extensive coastline, thanks to the numerous fjords along its coast. This coastline facilitated maritime trade and allowed for a strong maritime culture. Norway's scattered population clusters, connected by fjords and seas, fostered community cooperation. This cooperation extended to shipbuilding, which was vital for transportation and trade. Instead of a centralized class of capitalists, Norway's economy developed with a decentralized distribution of wealth and ownership. Norway's early success was also fueled by its timber industry. Despite not having the most extensive forests in Europe, Norway's accessibility to its forests through fjords made it a lumbering powerhouse for centuries. Rivers served as natural transportation routes for timber downstream to sawmills, where it was refined for export. The late 19th and early 20th centuries saw Norway's economy further propelled by the development of hydroelectric power. With abundant precipitation feeding rivers and waterfalls, Norway harnessed hydroelectricity to industrialize rapidly. By 1920, Norway consumed more electricity per capita than any other country, driving the development of energy-intensive industries like aluminum production. Norsk Hydro, one of the largest aluminum companies globally, emerged from Norway's hydroelectric boom. Today, Norway is Europe's largest producer of aluminum, powered mainly by its hydropower resources. This reliance on renewable energy has also positioned Norway as a leader in sustainable practices. As foreign companies invested in Norway's hydroelectric infrastructure, the country gradually asserted control over its energy resources. This process reflects Norway's ability to leverage its natural advantages for economic development while maintaining sovereignty. Norway's management of oil and gas wealth. To safeguard its national control over resources, Norway needed outside help due to its small population and limited expertise. So, instead of hastily nationalizing foreign assets, they devised a long-term strategy for the hydro industry. Foreign companies investing in Norwegian hydro had to agree to turn over assets to the government after 60 to 80 years, ensuring eventual national control. By the late 1950s, interest in Norway's offshore oil and gas fields emerged. Despite initial skepticism about finding resources, a significant gas discovery near the Netherlands sparked renewed curiosity. Then, in 1962, Phillips became the first to explore Norwegian waters. But without defined maritime boundaries, Norway's section of the North Sea was unclear. Luckily, a quick agreement with the UK over the median line principle favored Norway, granting them substantial offshore resources. Subsequent exploration led to significant oil and gas discoveries in the 1960s and 70s, with fields like Ekofisk and Troll transforming Norway's economy. From past experiences, Norway applied lessons from the hydro industry to oil and gas. They established the state-owned company Equinor, formerly Statoil, ensuring the government held over 50% ownership in production licenses. This balanced foreign investment with national control. Norway's oil and gas reserves propelled its economy, making it Europe's largest producer outside Russia. With proximity to the EU, Norway became a crucial gas supplier. Its foresight in building undersea pipelines ensured direct access to European markets, reducing dependency on imports from further afield. However, Norway diverged from the typical petrostate mold. Despite the immense oil wealth, it remained highly democratic and egalitarian. Norway's long-standing traditions of communal resource ownership and democratic governance played pivotal roles. Unlike many petrostates where oil reinforced autocratic rule, Norway's inclusive governance structures mitigated such risks. Nonetheless, oil price fluctuations in the 1980s highlighted Norway's vulnerability to market volatility. In response, the government established the Government Pension Fund Global, also known as the Oil Fund, in 1990. This sovereign wealth fund invested surplus oil revenues globally, diversifying Norway's economy and safeguarding against oil market uncertainties. The fund's strict guidelines ensured responsible management, with investment spread across stocks and real estate. By doing so, Norway reduced its reliance on oil and gas revenues, fostering economic stability and prosperity for future generations. Norway's strategic management. In simple terms, Norway has been brilliant in handling its oil and gas riches. Norway found itself in a surprising situation when it discovered a lot of oil and gas. But instead of blowing it all at once like someone who wins the lottery, Norway decided to be smart about it. First off, they created something called the Oil Fund back in 1990. This is like a giant savings bank where they put all the money they make from selling oil and gas. But they made rules so that only a tiny part of that money could be used yearly. This stops politicians from spending it all at once and leaving nothing for the future. Now, that savings bank has become huge. It's the biggest in the world with trillions of dollars. It's so big that Norway owns a piece of almost every big company out there. Even though Norway is tiny, they are the world's economy. But Norway didn't stop there. They also used their oil and gas wealth to build a sustainable future. They're like the champions of renewable energy. They have many rivers and windy mountains which they use to make clean electricity. They produce enough clean energy to power almost all their homes. They're encouraging people to drive electric cars by giving them excellent incentives. As a result, almost all the new cars sold in Norway are electric. It's not just about saving the planet, it's also about making smart choices for their country's future. So, while Norway might have struck it rich with oil and gas, they're not letting that wealth go to waste. They're using it to build a brighter, greener future for themselves and the world. And that's something we can all learn from. Norway's rise as a global powerhouse. Now, let's get into Norway's incredible strategic moves that have transformed it into a significant player on the world stage. Norway continued beyond being innovative with its oil and gas wealth. They also made some savvy decisions about renewable energy that have paid off. As Norway started powering more of its grid with renewable sources like hydro and wind within its borders, it became less dependent on energy imports from other countries. This made Norway more secure and freed up more oil and gas to sell abroad. And they poured much of that cash into their sovereign wealth fund, diversifying their economy away from oil. Their plan was simple, yet brilliant. Sell oil and gas to other countries while using renewable energy to meet their needs. This way, they could simultaneously be energy independent and rake in cash from exports. It's like having your cake and eating it too. This strategy has paid off handsomely, making Norway one of Europe's most powerful and influential countries. They've become the EU's biggest energy supplier, especially after the EU cut ties with Russian energy following the Ukraine crisis. Norway swooped in to fill the gap, significantly boosting their oil and gas exports to the EU. But it's not just about oil and gas anymore. Norway hit another jackpot with a massive discovery of phosphate, a critical fertilizer component in various technologies. This discovery instantly doubled the world's phosphate reserves and gave Norway a significant edge in global markets. And there's more good news. Norway's phosphate discovery also likely contains valuable metals like titanium and vanadium, essential for modern technologies. This could give Europe and the West a strategic advantage, reducing their reliance on China for these crucial resources. With its renewable energy prowess, booming oil and gas exports, and newfound mineral wealth, Norway is on track to become a dominant force in global markets for years. They've truly mastered the art of turning natural resources into long-term prosperity. And all of this is just the tip of the iceberg. Norway's strategic thinking and forward-looking policies are setting the stage for even greater success in the future. Who would have thought that a small country like Norway could wield such immense power on the world stage? Remember to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more engaging content like this. Stay tuned for our next exploration into the world's most mesmerizing stories. Thanks for watching.